I've seen people come back from literally the brink of death. And one of the main questions that you've got to be asking if you want to shift whatever it is what am I putting up with right now that's not good for me? What am I putting up with right now in woo-woo terms that doesn't serve me? And when I say woo-woo, I don't want to offend anybody anyway. It's just like my cute way of saying it. So I'm just talking about, something that I consider spiritual and something that maybe, like a scientist wouldn't say, does that serve you? I just find it's a nice shorthand for it. So what are you putting up with that's not good for you anymore? What are you putting up with that you've outgrown and that you haven't been willing to admit yet? So think about all of that and think about the idea and ask yourself the question, what am I tolerating in my life that's got to go?
Learn the ways of the goddess and accomplish much more with so much less effort. Welcome to Your Goddess Awakened with Hallie Evelyn, a show dedicated to helping you embrace your divine feminine and nurture your inner goddess for a radiant life. We invite you to join us every week to receive goddess wisdom that will help you through your current obstacles and lifelong traumas. Awaken the goddess within you and transform your business and your life, only here on Your Goddess Awakened.
So in our last episode, we were talking with Dr. Stefania, and she brought up a tool that she had used when we worked together privately, and she calls it toleration. And basically the idea behind it is, what are you tolerating? And before we talk about the other goddess tool that I want to introduce to you today, because this is our Goddess Tools episode, so that you can have some great tools to use in your life, I want to go back to the idea that Dr. Stefania shared with us. This is a powerful shifter for me, and it will be for you. Like, there was a kind of a switch that got thrown once I realized that I was tolerating a lot of things. I stopped doing it. Like, you can't see the rest of my office right now. You can only see, or have me describe to you, if you're listening to this on a podcast episode, the way that my office was versus the way that my office is. And that's fine because you didn't have to see it a mess. I'm just telling you, it's a lot cleaner right now. Why? Because I realized there was a lot of stuff in my space that I was basically just putting up with. And this doesn't feel like a big deal. This doesn't feel like a big thing. But when you get into this on every level of your life, what you discover is there's energy stagnating. It's like little stuff, little bits of energy that are stagnating versus large pieces. Like, let's say you know that you really ought to divorce your husband, leave your girlfriend, stop putting up with the way your mother-in-law is treating you, whatever. That's like a big energy thing. I'm not talking about on that level. I mean, that level is something we all have to deal with. I'm just talking about the little stuff. It's like there's this low invisible hum that you're not aware of because it's invisible and it's low. So it's like under the background all the time. And you don't think it's a problem. And then once you start to look at it, you're like, oh my gosh, it's here and here and here and here and in this part of my life and in this part of my life. And I didn't even realize it. I didn't realize all the crap that I was putting up with. And I go back to this phrase all the time. It's my favorite Oprah Winfrey quote. She said, you have to listen to the whispers before they become a brick. And to me, those little energy tolerations are the whispers. And the brick upside your head is, hey, I need to leave my person or what's about to be my ex-person, right? That's not what we're talking about, though. We're talking about how do you get to this stuff before that happens? And the answer is you look at where's all the stuff you're putting up with that you're done putting up with, that you don't need to be putting up with, and that all together is adding up to you being slightly off center, slightly out of alignment. just so little tiny bit, not 100% all the time. Look, I am a big believer, and you're going to hear this in future episodes. We're going to be interviewing some really powerful people who can talk more about this from a medical perspective. I'll just say my opinion based on working with hundreds of clients and based on seeing this in my own life. Our health is determined by our energy first and foremost, and our physical health is an outpicturing of what we're doing in our energy. And one of the reasons that I started this show is that the idea of bringing feminine energy, which is that softer, gentler, more nurturing energy, so that we can come into full alignment all the time. And what does that mean? It means where you feel grounded, you feel centered, you feel like your life is running on the right track, you feel like you're in flow all the time. Is that possible for you? Yes. And I'm saying that no matter how not possible it feels for you right now. And for some of you, it may feel totally possible. And for other people, you're like, no way, no how, that's never going to happen. However, it can. I've seen people come back from literally the brink of death. And one of the main questions that you've got to be asking if you want to shift whatever it is what am I putting up with right now that's not good for me? What am I putting up with right now in woo-woo terms that doesn't serve me? And when I say woo-woo, I don't want to offend anybody anyway. It's just like my cute way of saying it. So I'm just talking about, something that I consider spiritual and something that maybe, like a scientist wouldn't say, does that serve you? I just find it's a nice shorthand for it. So what are you putting up with that's not good for you anymore? What are you putting up with that you've outgrown and that you haven't been willing to admit yet? So think about all of that and think about the idea and ask yourself the question, what am I tolerating in my life that's got to go? All right, so that's Goddess Tool number 1 for today. And our second Goddess Tool is one of my, or probably some of my favorite phrases. I like to use what I call bumper sticker coaching. Bumper sticker coaching will fit on a bumper sticker, and it's super simple, which means that you can remember it in a pinch. You can remember it in an emergency when you feel like the top of your head's about to come off. And today's bumper sticker coaching are just some of my basics, like my go-tos, stuff I teach all of my clients because it's really invaluable. And I want to start with the concept first that simple and easy are two different things. We tend to mix those things up. We tend to say simple and easy are synonyms, but something being simple doesn't necessarily make it easy. A lot of times, in fact, if it feels really simple, we go, well, that's too easy, and then we don't do it. So what I want to reassure you about first is if it's simple, that means that you're going to be able to remember it. I'm not going to give you anything that has more than 3 steps, and usually everything just has 1 step. And I'm not going to tell you something that is too complicated. Even the words themselves that you have to remember are not going to be so complicated, because I want you to be able to remember this when you're screaming crazy angry, or when you're super sad, or when you feel like you're never going to get another client again, or when you feel like somebody's been really mean to you or whatever, because all of these things I consider them like my go-to goddess tools, because they're ways to bring me back into alignment, ways to ground me, and ways to make sure that I'm able to have the very best life that I possibly can have all the time. Because let's face it, we did not come here to this planet to just put up with stuff. I don't know if you remember the old commercial. I want to say this came out like maybe, 7 or 8 years ago, but it was a commercial that showed all these little kids, and the little kids were saying very adult things. So there was a little boy who said, I want to become a middle manager, and a little girl who said, I want to be retired early. And she didn't mean like early retirement. She meant like, because she was, basically like they forced her out, right? I want to be forced out of my job, that kind of stuff. And it was really fascinating having it come out of these little kids' mouths, because the juxtaposition was pretty obvious. This is not what we want out of our lives. This isn't the kind of experience that we want to have. And yet, many of us as adults feel like, oh, we have to give up our dreams, or, we're not ever going to get the results that we want, or we have to admit that we've failed. For every Hollywood overnight success story, I can show you that person actually struggled for like 10 or 20 years before they got the results that they want. So what we seem to see as success and what we're willing to just write off as somebody else's luck usually was a lot of hard work first. So when it comes to our key experiences in life, we want to have joy. We want to have a great time. We want to I'm not talking about like, oh, we went to a lot of parties. I mean, we want to have meaningful, great times. That's why during a time like in lockdown, or I'll just say like a smaller social footprint for everyone, it's a chance to kind of turn within and see where we can enjoy ourselves more, where we can enjoy the lives that we have more inside. Because it's not just about working, entertaining ourselves, and dying. And a lot of people live their life like it is. Just binge watching the latest series plus work, and then, the next thing you know, 30 years has passed. That's not enough for me, and I don't feel like that's enough for you either, or you probably wouldn't be here. So getting to that place, and we're going to have lots of episodes with lots of tools where we talk about all of this stuff, is better because you're going to have more joy in your life. You're going to have a more enjoyable life. You're going to have a life that feels more fulfilling and more fulfilled. So let's talk about these tools because they're really, really simple, and they're easy to use, and they're easy to remember, and that way you will be able to use them when you need them. So the first one is yes, please, more, and thank you. Yes, please, more, and thank you is a phrase that I've been using for, about 10 years now, since before I was a coach. And it is a great phrase to use when you want to attract more of the thing you want into your life. Now remember, and I'll probably repeat all this stuff a lot, at least during the early episodes, so make sure that everybody knows. You can use your favorite word for God. Any word that you use for your higher power is good for me. And I'm not trying to use a word that's designed to offend anybody. I use all the words interchangeably. For me, God is like breathing. So, and God doesn't care what word we use as long as we're practicing the principles. So that's my belief, and I'll use all the words, and you just pick your favorite word and like insert it like a synonym into wherever it is that I say the G word or whatever other phrase that I use. So when we want to attract more of the thing, whatever the thing is that we desire into our lives, and we get something that's like a little part of it. So for example, like $100 falls into your lap and you say, yes, please, more, and thank you. Now the universe is on high alert. Hey, she got $100 and she said, bring me more. She said, thank you, which is expressing gratitude, which is a heart-based experience, not a brain-based experience. Gratitude's happening in your heart. And in your heart, the experience of joy unfolds, not in your brain. These are about your feelings, not just about your thoughts. So having that heart feeling of gratitude is super valuable because it combines with your thoughts to make the thing that you're asking for, the thing that you desire, even more powerful. And one of my favorite spiritual gurus, I'll call him, Dr. Joe Dispenza, who's a brain scientist and who's studied all of this stuff and who loves it more than anything, talks about something called heart coherence, which is basically connecting the idea of gratitude with deliberate thought for higher results. So you can look Dr. Joe up on YouTube and check out when he talks about heart coherence. And he explains the brain science behind all of that. every wisdom teacher that I'm aware of talks about the power of and the importance of gratitude. What I love about Dr. Joe's work is he explains the why from a scientific standpoint. And I love me some science and I love me some math. So you might get like little pieces of that in these episodes as well. So, yes, please, more, and thank you is acknowledging the thing, which, by the way, we women fail to do a lot. We are constantly forgetting to say that we acknowledge the thing that just happened. We are constantly saying, well, that happened, but I didn't do these 12 other things, so it doesn't count. Or, well, that happened, but let me just move on to the other stuff that I didn't take care of. Or, well, I have this other stuff, so I'll just keep moving down the line and not give any attention at all to the thing that I did. So we fail to celebrate ourselves. And this is a way, in a tiny little way, yes, please, more, and thank you, celebrates the thing that just happened. Yes, please, this is yummy. And now more, we're calling more in, and thank you, we're expressing that gratitude. So yes, please, more, and thank you is one of my first bumper sticker coaching pieces that I just love. So the next piece of bumper sticker coaching is some of that for me, please. And some of that for me, please, is a great phrase to use when somebody else is getting the thing that we want. So a lot of times we believe that if somebody gets something, that means that we didn't get it. And unfortunately for us, because it is an inclusive universe, that means that we basically just told the universe we didn't get it, and the universe will comply and not bring it to us because that's what we were focused on, that we didn't get it. So let me back up a little bit and explain about the idea of an inclusive universe. So let's use an example. Let's talk about a car. So let's say you see this amazingly beautiful Mercedes 350 SL. That's probably one of my dream cars. It's got a convertible. It's amazingly beautiful. So we want this beautiful 350 SL convertible. And when we see it, we say, oh, I really want that. Well, at the same time that we want the car and we're focusing on the car, we've also got the lack of the car at the same time. When we see somebody driving that car and we see them having it and we say, oh, that person has that car and I don't, it's exactly the same thing. We're talking about the lack of having it, not having it. So when you see somebody driving down the street in your convertible 350 SL and you say, some of that for me, please, what you're really saying is, I'm bringing that closer to me instead of pushing it away. So that's the next phrase that I want you to consider using and bringing into your vocabulary every single day. And that is some of that for me, please. That's really going to help you draw the thing in that you desire. And the last goddess tool that I'm going to share with you today is a beautiful phrase that I think is super helpful. Also, bumper sticker coaching. What other people think about me is none of my business. What other people think about me is none of my business. Sometimes I give this to clients and it's like the sun came out. It is so very freeing. And why is that? Because when you say, what other people think about me is none of my business, you give yourself permission to be exactly who you are, to want the things that you want, and to be the person that you have decided you are, regardless of what anybody else thinks about you. I had an incident just today in my life where I asked a question and the person that, it was a question about me, and the person that responded in a way that I wasn't expecting and didn't say the thing that I wanted them to say. And at first, I'm going to use the old way of saying it, the way that I would have said it as a kid. It made me feel bad. That's what we say, isn't it? We say, it made me feel bad. You said this thing about me and it made me feel bad, or you made me feel bad. But the truth is, all she was doing was expressing her reality, how she felt honestly. And I was taking that personally because of the way that it landed. That's not her problem. That's my problem. And when I say that's my problem, it's because I have to take responsibility for every single feeling that I have. It's no fun, but it's the way that it works. So when I say what other people think about me is none of my business, it helps me to distance myself from taking on somebody else's feelings about me as my own. It means that I don't have to feel bad when somebody expresses themselves honestly. I can just recognize, okay, well, that's that person's opinion and it's none of my business. And when I do that, it makes me feel a lot better. So don't just take my word for it. Try it for yourself, because what you'll discover is it'll make you feel better too. And that is what all of these episodes are about. Making you feel better, making you feel like you're having a fabulous life. I'll see you next time. Blessings.
You have just listened to another enlightening and transforming episode of Your Goddess Awakened with Hallie Evelyn. We hope you enjoyed your time with us and join us again next time so you can continue your journey towards a full transformation. For additional resources and to learn more about working with Hallie Evelyn, visit highly-evelyn.com. Receive more, do less, and love your life. Only here on Your Goddess Awakened.